All right, so is the Japan Rail Pass really worth it? It's iconic, promises to save you money, but is it the golden ticket everyone says it is? We're tackling this one because you asked for it, listeners. This deep dive is for you.
We're going to equip you with all the info, and we're going deep with this one. We're pulling from the Real Japan website. They have an awesome guide, tons of user comments, even expert advice.
Perfect. So just starting out, what is this Japan Rail Pass everyone's talking about?
Basically, it's a special pass for tourists to use Japan's railway system, a massive network all over the country.
And this includes those super cool Shinkansen, the bullet trains, right?
You got it. The Shinkansen's a major perk, but it's not just that. You can ride some local JR lines, even a ferry to Miyajima Island.
Really? A ferry, too?
Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of cool. But back up, who is this pass actually for?
So the JR Pass is exclusively for tourists visiting Japan on a tourist visa. It's designed for people who want to explore different regions without spending a fortune on transportation.
So if you're only staying in Tokyo, probably not worth it.
Exactly. If you're only traveling within a specific region, regional passes or individual tickets would be a smarter choice financially.
Makes sense. I've heard there are a few different JR Pass options, like different lengths of time you can use them for.
Yeah, they've got 7-day, 14-day, and 21-day passes. It all depends on how much you want to see and do during your trip.
Wow, imagine riding those high-speed trains for 3 whole weeks. That's tempting. But I have a feeling all this convenience has to come with a price tag.
It does, and that's where it gets interesting. The guide really stresses buying your JR Pass before you arrive in Japan to save some serious cash.
So, plan ahead. Got it. Is there a catch?
I wouldn't say it's a catch exactly. See, when you buy the pass online, you get what they call an exchange order. Then when you actually get to Japan, you got to take that exchange order to a JR office and exchange it for your official pass.
Interesting. So why the extra step?
It's all about getting the best price. Buying it inside Japan is pricier. If you order online beforehand, you lock in those savings, and it can be a lot.
Okay, that's a pretty good reason to get organized. Let's talk about what this pass gets you. What's covered?
A lot. You've got the Shinkansen bullet trains, of course, plus some local JR lines are included too, perfect for exploring smaller cities and towns. Don't forget that ferry to Miyajima we talked about.
Okay, so the JR Pass covers a lot of ground, but are there things that might surprise people that it doesn't cover?
That's a good question, and it's something we saw a lot of people in the comments section of that Real Japan guide asking about. While most Shinkansen are covered, there are a couple of exceptions with the Nozomi and Mizuho trains.
Which are?
Basically, the super fast express trains on some of the Shinkansen lines, they're like the premium option, and even if you've got a JR Pass, you'll need to pay extra to ride those.
Got it. So like the VIP section of bullet trains.
Mm-hmm.
Another question people had was about the Tokyo Metro. Can you use the pass on those?
Another good one, and unfortunately the answer is no. The Tokyo Metro's separate from the JR network. If you plan on traveling within Tokyo a lot, you'll need a different travel card or individual tickets.
Good to know. Those little details are important when planning a trip. So we've covered the basics, what it covers, even some good tips from people who've used it. But let's talk about the price. Will it actually save you money?
That's where it gets tricky. It really depends on your trip, how much you're planning to travel around.
So how do you know if it's right for your trip?
The guide says to use online route planners, and honestly, that's your best bet. Plug in your itinerary, see how much individual tickets would cost, and compare it to the JR Pass.
I like that. Takes the guesswork out of it.
For sure. But beyond just the cost, the JR Pass gives you flexibility. Imagine you're in Kyoto, been seeing temples all day, and you decide you want to go to Hiroshima with the JR Pass. You just hop on a train.
No stressing about tickets or extra costs. Just go explore.
Right. But remember, that flexibility comes at a cost, so always weigh your options. Speaking of options, they have a few types of JR passes. There's the standard one, the ordinary pass, but then there's the green car option.
Green car. Okay, what's so special about that?
Basically, think of it as first class for train travel.
Right.
More space, comfier seats, a quieter ride overall.
Sounds pretty nice. But that probably also means a bigger price tag, right?
Yeah, the green car pass is definitely more expensive than the ordinary pass. Is it worth it? Up to you and your budget. The Real Japan guide has all the prices listed out. Definitely worth a look.
Okay, so we've got decisions to make. Ordinary or green car, 7 days, 21 days. It's like designing your perfect Japan trip. No matter which pass you go with, though, there are ways to really get the most out of it, right?
Oh, absolutely. This is where those comments from travelers on the website are super helpful. One person suggested using the JR Pass alongside regional passes.
You mean use the JR pass for big trips between cities and then a regional pass for getting around locally?
Exactly. It's like a puzzle. Find the best combo of passes for your trip.
Smart. Speaking of good deals, I saw something in the guide about a Station 18 ticket.
Ah, that one. That's the one for budget travelers who are in no rush.
That's the deal with that one.
It's a seasonal pass, only available a few times a year, mostly during school breaks. It gives you unlimited travel on local JR lines for a really good price. But here's the catch. Local trains only.
No bullet trains.
Nope, this is slow travel at its finest. But if you really want to see the country, enjoy the journey, and save a bunch of money, that Station 18 ticket, as many users said, it's a game changer.
I'm all about slow and cheap travel. That's really good to know, especially for people traveling on a budget. Let's be real for a second, though. Using public transportation in another country can be intimidating, even with the pass. What about the language barrier? Is everything only in Japanese?
Don't worry. Japan is super tourist-friendly, especially the train system. You'll see signs in Japanese and English, and they usually make announcements in English too.
Phew, that's good to know.
And if you ever get lost or confused, just ask the staff at the station. They're incredibly helpful, used to tourists trying to find their way around.
So I don't need to panic if I only know how to say thank you and hello.
Not at all. Okay, let's talk luggage. Because honestly, traveling on bullet trains sounds amazing until you're trying to handle a huge suitcase.
Oof, I've been there. Definitely not fun. What's the deal with luggage on those Shinkansen? Any restrictions? Yeah, it's a common question. Everyone wants to know about those Shinkansen. The guide mentioned some recent changes about luggage on certain lines.
Oh yeah, they're getting stricter about those massive suitcases.
Makes sense. Space is limited on those bullet trains.
Definitely. Basically, if your suitcase is really big, like bigger than the dimensions they list, you'll probably need to reserve space for it ahead of time, even with a JR pass.
Oh, so it's less about just packing whatever and more about being smart about it.
Exactly. Maybe a good excuse to try out that whole minimalist packing thing. Or get some packing cubes. Those things are amazing.
All right, challenge accepted. So we've covered a ton about the JR Pass, the types, the cost, what's covered, even luggage. The good and maybe not so good. After all this, what's the verdict? Is the Japan Rail Pass the way to travel Japan? Or are there some things to consider?
I'd say the JR Pass is definitely a great tool for exploring, but like anything else, it all depends on how you use it.
It's not a one-size-fits-all for every traveler.
Right. It's about thinking about your travel style, your itinerary, and of course, how much you want to spend. Do your research, figure out the costs, and see if it works with your travel goals.
Very true. There was a comment that stuck with me from someone who uses the JR Pass a lot. They said to pick a central location for your accommodation, like Osaka or Kyoto, and use the pass for day trips from there.
That's a great strategy.
Right. You're not carrying your luggage everywhere. You've got a home base, and you're making the most of those longer Shinkansen trips.
It's that balance, flexibility, and value, which is what that approach does really well.
Totally agree. And with that, I think we've reached the end of our Japan Rail Pass deep dive. Hopefully you've got all the info you need to decide if the JR Pass is right for your Japan trip. Any last words?
Just do your research, plan it out, and most importantly, enjoy it.
Love it. And to our listener who requested this deep dive, we'd love to know what you decide. Feel free to reach out if you want to talk more about the JR Pass. Until next time, safe travels, everyone.